Lucas smiled as he tore open the last birthday present. Inside wasn't a toy. It was an old wooden box with a faded family photograph and a handwritten note. The note contained only 7 chilling words. Ask your father who your real family is. The room fell silent. David's face turned completely white. Emma noticed something she had never seen before. Fear. Before anyone could ask another question, someone knocked on the front door. That knock would destroy everything they believed about their family. By 9 that morning, my kitchen looked like a bakery had exploded. Blue frosting covered one counter. Paper stars hung from the ceiling, and 10 bright candles waited beside Lucas's chocolate cake. Mom, is it almost time? Lucas asked for the 5th time. Almost, I said, straightening his party hat. But birthdays require patience. He grinned. I'm 10 now. I have patience. David walked in carrying a tray of sandwiches. He lasted 3 minutes before asking again. Lucas pointed at him. Dad, you promised not to tell. David laughed and pulled him into a hug. Watching them together filled me with pride. David had stayed up late building decorations, wrapped every present, and even practiced a ridiculous birthday song that made Lucas groan. You're embarrassing me, Lucas said. That is my job, David replied. The doorbell rang, and the house quickly filled with voices, shoes, and laughter. I welcomed parents into the living room while children chased balloons across the floor. Everything looked exactly as I had imagined. Sophia arrived carrying a huge gift bag and wearing the warm smile Lucas always ran toward. Aunt Sophia, he shouted. She bent down as he hugged her. There's my favorite birthday boy. I'm your only birthday boy. That makes choosing easier. I laughed as she kissed my cheek. You're late. I brought the best gift. That excuses me. David took her coat. You say that every year. And every year I'm right. Lucas pulled her toward the presents, talking so fast I could barely follow him. Sophia listened like every word mattered. She had always loved him with an ease that made her feel less like my friend and more like family. Richard and Margaret arrived soon after. David's father carried a neatly wrapped box. His mother hugged Lucas, but her smile seemed strained. Happy birthday, sweetheart, Margaret said. Thank you, Grandma. Richard nodded at David. Everything going well? Perfect, David said. I noticed Richard glance toward the hallway, then toward Margaret. She looked away. Their discomfort lasted only seconds, but it left a small question in my mind. Are you both okay? I asked. Of course, Margaret answered too quickly. It's just noisy. Richard cleared his throat. Children's parties usually are. Before I could ask more, Lucas called everyone to the table. We sang. David performed his awful extra verse, and Lucas laughed so hard he nearly blew frosting across the cake. After food and games, we gathered around the presents. Lucas opened books, a remote control car, a soccer jersey, and Sophia's giant bag, which held a telescope. You remembered, he cried. I remember everything you tell me, she said. Another knock came at the door. I'll get it, I said. A delivery man stood outside, holding a plain brown package. Emma Carter? Yes. He handed it to me and left before I could ask anything. There was no return address, no card, and no name except ours. David frowned when I carried it inside. Who sent that? I don't know. Richard's face tightened. Margaret gripped his arm. Sophia stared at the box. Maybe someone forgot to write their name. Lucas reached for it, but I held it back. We should check it first. It's my birthday present, he protested. David forced a smile. Your mother is right. Lucas studied us, then nodded. Fine. I'll open it last. The room slowly returned to laughter, but I could not stop watching the package beneath the table. David kept glancing at it. Richard barely spoke. Margaret whispered something I could not hear. When the final guest left, Lucas rushed back to the living room. Now, I looked at David. He hesitated, then said, Go ahead. Lucas sat on the carpet, pulled the package into his lap, and tore open the brown paper. Inside was an old wooden box. Its dark surface was scratched, and a tiny brass lock hung broken from the front panel. The moment he lifted the lid, David stopped breathing. The moment Lucas lifted the lid, David stopped breathing. Inside the wooden box lay a faded family photograph. Its edges were bent, and a long scratch crossed one corner. A woman I did not recognize stood beside a younger David. She held a baby wrapped in a pale blanket. Lucas picked up the picture. Is that me? David moved so quickly that the box nearly fell from Lucas's lap. Give me that. Lucas pulled back. Why? Because I said so. The sharpness in David's voice silenced the room. I stared at him. He had never spoken to Lucas that way, especially not on his birthday. David, I said, what is wrong with you? Nothing. That does not look like nothing. Lucas lowered the photograph and reached into the box again. Beneath, it was a folded piece of paper. David grabbed for it, but Lucas opened it first. What does it say? I asked. Lucas read slowly. Ask your father who your real family is. For 1 second, no one moved. Then David snatched the note from his hands. This is sick. My heart began pounding. Who sent it? I do not know. Who is the woman in the photograph? I have no idea. You were standing beside her. It could be anyone. That is your face. People look alike. I almost laughed, but nothing about his expression was funny. His jaw was tight, and his eyes kept moving toward Richard, as if waiting for instructions. Richard stepped forward. Let me see that. David handed him the note, but not the photograph. Richard read the 7 words without changing his expression. Then he folded the paper once and slipped it into his jacket pocket. I watched him carefully. Why are you taking it? To keep it away from Lucas. I can keep it away from him. This has already upset him enough. Lucas looked from one face to another. What does real family mean? I knelt beside him. It does not mean anything. Someone is playing a terrible joke. David seized on my answer. Exactly. A cruel prank. That is all. I looked up at him. Sweat shone near his hairline, even though the room was cool. His hand shook as he closed the wooden lid. You are scared, I said. I am angry. No. I know what you look like when you are angry. Emma, not in front of Lucas. Then stop acting like we are in danger. Sophia had not spoken since the box opened. She stood near the sofa, gripping the strap of her purse with both hands. Her warm smile was gone. When I looked at her, she turned toward the window. Sophia. She flinched. What? Do you recognize that picture? No. You did not even look at it closely. I saw enough. Her answer came too quickly. I stepped closer, but she took one small step back. That movement frightened me more than David's shouting. David stepped between us. Stop this. We are not turning a stranger's prank into an interrogation. Then answer one simple question, I said. Who is she? I told you. I do not know. Richard placed a hand on David's shoulder. Everyone needs to calm down. I faced him. You took the note before I could examine it. It said 7 words, Emma. There is nothing to examine. Margaret sat silently beside the table, twisting her wedding ring. She would not meet my eyes. I looked around the room that had felt perfect minutes earlier. My husband was panicking. My father-in-law was hiding the note. My mother-in-law looked terrified. My best friend could barely breathe. Lucas touched my arm. Mom, did I do something bad? I pulled him close. No, never. David reached for the photograph. Give it to me. I handed him the empty box instead. His eyes narrowed. Where's the picture? I thought you had it. While everyone searched the floor around the room desperately, I felt the faded photograph hidden beneath my sweater pressed tightly against my heart. I waited until the house went quiet before I locked my bedroom door and pulled the photograph from beneath my sweater. Under the lamp, the image looked older than I had first realized. The colors had faded into dull shades of brown and blue. David stood on the left, younger and thinner, with one hand resting behind an unfamiliar woman. She held a baby wrapped in a pale blanket. I brought the picture closer. The baby had Lucas's small nose, the same curve in his upper lip, and a tiny mark near his right eyebrow. My breath caught. That is you, I whispered. The bedroom door handle moved. Emma. I slid the photograph beneath a book as David entered. What are you doing? He asked. Thinking. About that stupid package. About the woman in the picture. His eyes flicked toward the table. I already told you. I do not know her. You were standing beside her. It was years ago. So, you remember the picture? His face tightened. I mean, it looked old. Who was she, David? He rubbed both hands over his face. A nurse, maybe. A nurse holding Lucas? She could have been holding any baby. The baby looked exactly like him. You are seeing what you want to see. I stared at the man I had trusted for years. Why are you lying to me? I am not. Then tell me her name. I cannot name someone I do not know. The next morning, I called Sophia. I need you to come over. Is Lucas there? No. She arrived 20 minutes later, pale and restless. I placed a photograph on the kitchen table without warning. Look at it. Her lips parted. Emma. Who is she? I do not know. You said that too quickly. I have never met her. I did not ask whether you met her. Sophia froze. I leaned closer. You have seen this picture before. No. You just admitted it. I did not admit anything. You said you never met her. How did you know I meant the woman? Her eyes filled with panic. David showed me the photo years ago, but he never explained it. My stomach turned. He told me he had never seen it. Please talk to him. I have. He lies. Sophia grabbed her purse. I should go. After she left, I walked straight into David's office. I searched every drawer, shelf, and cabinet. At first, I found nothing except bills and work files. Then my fingers touched a loose wooden panel inside the bottom drawer. Behind it was a thin envelope. Inside were hospital documents bearing David's name, Lucas's name, and a date I did not recognize. I read them once. Then again, my hands began shaking. Lucas had always been told he was born on October 12th at St. Anne's Hospital. These documents listed a different hospital and a date 9 days earlier. David had signed one page. Richard had signed another. I sank into the desk chair, staring at the papers and the faded photograph beside them. The room seemed to tilt around me. I remember the day David first placed Lucas in my arms and told me the hospital had made us wait because of paperwork. I remembered Margaret crying, Richard refusing photographs, and Sophia arriving before I had even called her. At the time, every strange detail had felt completely harmless. Now each one felt carefully planned. I turned the hospital pages over, hoping for some explanation on the back. There was none, only an old crease and a faint stain near David's signature. My phone buzzed. A message from David appeared. Have you seen the photograph? I stared at the screen, unable to answer. The woman, the baby, the hidden records, and the changed dates all pointed toward one truth I could no longer avoid. Someone had been lying to me for 10 years. Detective Sarah Collins arrived before noon, carrying the anonymous package inside a clear evidence bag. I watched her place it on my kitchen table. Who touched it, she asked. Everyone at the party, I said. Lucas opened it. David handled the note. Richard took it. Where's the note now? With Richard. Sarah looked at me. Why did he take it? He said he wanted to protect Lucas. And you believed him? I did then. She photographed the wooden box, checked the torn wrapping, and examined the label. No return address, she said. No useful handwriting. Whoever sent this wanted it delivered, not traced. Can you find them? I can try, but I need every detail. I told her about David's panic, Sophia's fear, and Margaret twisting her ring while Richard removed the note. Sarah wrote everything down. Did anyone know Lucas would open gifts in front of the family? Almost everyone close to us. Then the sender may understand your routines. The thought made my skin crawl. I handed her the hidden hospital documents. Sarah read them slowly. Where did you find these? In David's office. Does he know? Not yet. She compared the dates, then asked, Do you have Lucas's adoption papers? The word adoption made my chest tighten. Yes. I brought the folder from our bedroom safe. Sarah spread both sets of documents across the table. For several minutes, she said nothing. What is it? I asked. The original dates were changed. I gripped the chair. Changed how? Different ink. Different type spacing. One signature appears copied. Are you saying the adoption was illegal? I am saying someone altered the paperwork. Could David have done it? I cannot answer that yet. Could Richard? I need facts, not guesses. Her calmness frightened me more than panic would have. I called Richard immediately. He arrived with Margaret less than an hour later. David came soon after, angry that I had involved the police. You had no right, he said. I had every right. Lucas is my son. Richard stared at the documents. His face slowly collapsed. Sarah faced him. Do you know who altered these records? Richard lowered himself into a chair. I paid someone, he said. Margaret gasped. David shut his eyes. I could barely speak. You paid someone to change my son's adoption papers? It was years ago. That is not an answer. Richard looked at me. I thought I was protecting the family. From what? He shook his head. I cannot say. Margaret began crying. Please stop, she whispered. Please, Richard. I turned toward her. You knew. She covered her mouth with both hands. Her shoulders shook. I wanted to tell you, she said. So many times. Tell me what? I cannot. You all keep saying that. David moved toward me. Emma, this is complicated. No. Complicated is forgetting an anniversary. This is 10 years of lies. I was trying to protect you. From whom? He looked at Sarah, then at his parents. David, I said, tell me everything. I cannot. That answer broke something inside me. I thought about our wedding vows, Lucas's first night home, every birthday, every whispered promise in the dark. I wondered which moments had been real and which had been carefully arranged. Sarah asked them more questions, but the room felt far away. My marriage no longer looked like a life. It looked like evidence. Before leaving, Sarah warned me not to confront anyone alone. She took the altered papers as evidence, but I carefully kept the photograph and box hidden. That night, after everyone left, I hid the wooden box beneath loose floorboards in my closet. I checked every lock before going to bed. At 2 a.m, glass shattered downstairs. I sat up, frozen. Heavy footsteps crossed the kitchen. Then a drawer slammed open. Someone had broken into my house and was searching for the wooden box. The police found muddy footprints beneath my broken kitchen window, but no fingerprints and nothing missing. Whoever entered had opened every drawer and cabinet, yet ignored money, electronics, and jewelry. They wanted one thing, Detective Collins said, the box, and they believed it was still here. I did not tell her where I had hidden it. By sunrise, fear had hardened into determination. I placed the faded photograph beneath my coat and drove to the hospital listed on the altered documents. The records clerk studied the picture through thick glasses. I cannot release private information, she said. I'm not asking for medical details. I only need her name. She looked again. I remember that face. My heart jumped. Who is she? Anna Reed. She volunteered here briefly. Where can I find her? The clerk's expression changed. You cannot. Why? She disappeared 10 years ago. The words chilled me. I gripped the desk. 10 years was not random. It was Lucas's entire life, tied to the same hidden beginning everyone still refused to explain. What does disappeared mean? She stopped coming to work. Her apartment was emptied. No forwarding address. People said she left town, but no one knew where. I left with Anna's name repeating in my head. Sophia opened her door after my third knock. The moment I showed her the photograph, her shoulders dropped. You knew Anna Reed, I said. She stepped aside. Come in. No more lies. I knew her, she whispered. Before Lucas was born. Ow! She was frightened and alone. David asked me to help her. Help her do what? Sophia looked toward the floor. I cannot tell you everything. You will tell me enough. She loved that baby, Sophia said. Whatever anyone says, remember that. My throat tightened. Was the baby Lucas? Sophia began crying. That was answer enough. I wanted to shake her, but her grief looked real. She covered her face and whispered that some promises became prisons. When I asked who demanded her silence, she refused to answer. I drove home and found David waiting in the living room. You spoke to Sophia, he said. I found Anna's name. His face went pale. Who was she? Lucas's birth mother. The room seemed to shrink around me. You told me you did not know her. I was afraid. Why did she disappear? I do not know. Why were the adoption papers altered? My father handled it. You signed them. I signed what he gave me. What happened to Anna? David stared past me. She agreed to the adoption. That is not what I asked. It is all I can tell you. You mean all you are willing to tell me? Before he could answer, Detective Collins called. I found something, she said. There is a missing person report filed for Anna Reed 10 years ago. I gripped the phone. Then why was she never found? The report vanished from the system. The paper file is missing too. Can records disappear by accident? Not both copies. I looked at David. He could hear every word. Who had access? I asked. I am checking. David reached for the phone. I pulled away. That evening, Lucas stood in the hallway while David and I argued again. "Why do you keep yelling?" he asked. We both stopped. "I am sorry," I said. "Is it because of my birthday gift?" "No," David answered too quickly. Lucas looked at me. "Are you and Dad getting divorced?" The question broke my heart. "I do not know," I admitted. He lowered his eyes. Everything was happy before I opened that box. I held him close, but I could not promise happiness would return. After Lucas fell asleep, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered quietly. "Hello." A woman breathed on the other end. "Emma Carter?" "Yes." "My name is Anna Reed," she said. "I am Lucas's biological mother." Anna told me to meet her at a quiet cafe across town and come alone. I left before sunrise, telling David I needed space. My hands shook around the steering wheel the entire drive. Part of me expected an empty table. Another part feared she would be waiting. She sat in the back corner, wearing a dark coat. The woman from the photograph looked older, but I recognized her eyes immediately. "You came," she said. "You called me. I was not sure you would believe me. I did not know what to believe anymore." Anna looked down at her untouched coffee. "Lucas was taken from me." The word struck like a slap. "You agreed to the adoption." "No. I signed temporary care papers after I became sick. Richard told me Lucas would stay with David and you until I recovered." "Why would David take your baby?" "Because David was Lucas's father." I cannot breathe. Anna reached across the table, but I pulled my hands away. "That is impossible. It is the truth. You disappeared. I was forced to disappear." She said Richard and Margaret had feared the scandal would destroy their family. David had been married to me, and Anna had been alone. They offered money, then threatened to prove she was unfit when she refused. Richard paid someone at the hospital, Anna said. The temporary papers became adoption papers. Dates changed. Signatures appeared where mine should have been. David knew. He knew Lucas was his. I did not know how much he knew about the rest. My stomach twisted. And Margaret. She visited me in the hospital. She cried while telling me Lucas would have a better life without me. I pressed both palms against the table. "Why did you not go to the police?" "I did. I filed a report when they moved Lucas. Then Richard found me." "What did he do?" "He said I would never see my son again if I kept fighting. He knew things about my past and used them against me." I panicked and left. Where does Sophia fit into this? Anna's face tightened. She took the original papers. I stared at her. Sophia came to my apartment after I disappeared. She found my copy of the temporary agreement and a letter I had written for Lucas. Why would she hide them? She said David begged her. He told her exposing everything would destroy you and take Lucas from the only home he knew. My best friend had known. She had hugged me through sleepless nights, celebrated every birthday, and watched me raise a child whose beginning had been stolen. What happened to the papers? I do not know. Sophia said she hid them somewhere safe. I called Detective Collins from the parking lot and repeated everything. "Do not confront anyone yet," she warned. "I need to know whether Anna is telling the truth. I will check the hospital payment records and the missing report." 2 hours later, Sarah called back. "Part of her story is verified," she said. "Richard made a large cash withdrawal 3 days before the documents were changed. I also found a log showing Anna's missing person report existed before it vanished. And Sophia? I cannot prove her role yet." I sat alone in my car, staring through the windshield. Richard had paid for the lie. Margaret had helped pressure Anna. Sophia had hidden evidence. David had lied every time I asked for the truth. Nearly everyone I loved had chosen silence over me. I no longer knew whether my home had ever been safe or whether my marriage had been built entirely around a secret from its first day at all. When I returned home, David was waiting beside the wooden box. "Where were you?" he asked. "With Anna." His face collapsed. "You knew she was alive." "I hope she was." "Was Lucas your son before he became mine?" David lowered his head. "Answer me." "Yes." The room went silent. I felt every memory of my marriage split open at once. "Who sent the package?" I asked. David looked at the box, then finally met my eyes. "The birthday gift was meant for me," he said. "Not Lucas." Detective Collins called the next morning. "We are reopening Anna Reed's case," she said. "The altered adoption papers, missing report, and payment records are enough to begin. I looked at David across the kitchen table. He had not slept. Neither had I. What happens now? I asked. We follow the evidence. The police arrived at Richard and Margaret's house before noon. I went because Sarah asked me to identify the documents Richard had taken from Lucas's birthday party. Richard stood in the doorway when officers showed him the warrant. This is unnecessary, he said. Sarah faced him. You paid to alter legal records. You removed evidence from an active investigation. I protected my family. You tampered with evidence. Margaret grabbed his arm. Tell them you were afraid. Tell them you made a mistake. Richard looked at her, then at me. Everything I did kept Lucas safe. No, I said. Everything you did kept your secret safe. An officer placed handcuffs around his wrists. Margaret screamed. No, please, he is an old man. He cannot go with you. She pushed toward him, but Sarah held out a hand. Mrs. Carter stepped back. Margaret collapsed against the wall. Her knees gave way, and I caught her before she hit the floor. I only wanted a family, she sobbed. I wanted David's life protected. I thought Anna would disappear and everyone would heal. You knew she was threatened? I knew enough. Her words made me release her. Sophia arrived while the police were leaving. She saw Richard in the patrol car and covered her mouth. I need to tell the truth, she said. We gathered in Margaret's living room. David stood near the window. Margaret cried on the sofa. Sophia placed an old envelope on the table. I took this from Anna's apartment, she said. Inside were temporary care papers and a letter addressed to Lucas. You hid them for 10 years. I asked. David begged me. He said exposing them would destroy you. You watched me raise him without knowing. I loved you both. That was not love. Sophia lowered her eyes. I told myself silence protected Lucas. Really, I was protecting myself. David finally turned from the window. She was not the only one. I faced him. He admitted he had known Anna was pregnant. He admitted he knew Lucas was his son. He said Richard arranged the adoption and told him Anna had accepted money and left willingly. Scene 11. Voiceover. When did you learn that was a lie? I asked. Years ago. And you still said nothing? I was afraid you would leave. You let me live inside a lie because you were afraid. I loved you. You loved being forgiven before I knew what you had done. A sound came from the hallway. Lucas stood near the stairs. His face was pale. Dad had another family? He asked. My heart stopped. Lucas, come here. He backed away. Was I stolen? No, David said. You were loved. Then why did everyone lie? No one answered. He looked at Margaret. She began crying harder. He looked at Sophia. You knew too? Sophia whispered. I am sorry. Lucas turned to me. Did you know? No. I swear. The room broke apart around him. Margaret begged for forgiveness. Sophia cried. David tried to explain. I shouted for everyone to stop. Lucas covered his ears. I hate this family, he screamed. He ran upstairs and slammed his door. David started after him, but I blocked the stairs. No, you have explained enough. He is my son, and right now, every word from you hurts him. David sank into a chair. For the first time, no one defended him. No one had anything left to hide behind it all. I followed minutes later, but the room was empty. The window stood open, the curtains moving in the cold air. Lucas had run away from home. I found Lucas at the small park 3 streets from our house, sitting beneath the slide with his knees pulled to his chest. I ran so hard that my lungs burned. Lucas, he looked up but did not move. I dropped beside him and wrapped both arms around his body. For one terrible second, he stayed stiff. Then he buried his face against me and began to cry. I did not know where to go, he whispered. You come to me. Always. Is any of it true? I held him tighter. Some of it is. Some of it is still being understood. But one thing will never change. I am your mother, and I love you. David arrived moments later, but Lucas turned away from him. Please, David said. Let me explain. Not now, I told him. At the station, Lucas sat wrapped in a blanket while Sarah asked questions. He kept a hand around mine. Did anyone follow you? She asked. No. Did anyone speak to you? He shook his head. I only wanted the shouting to stop. Those words cut deeper than accusation. I had spent time chasing truth, but I had not seen how the search was hurting him. I am sorry, I whispered. Are we a family? I kissed his hair. Yes. We may look different now, but you and I are family. The hardest decision of my life became clear before we reached home. I asked David to leave. He stood in our doorway with tears in his eyes. You are ending our marriage. I am ending the lies. I can change. You had 10 years to tell me the truth. What about Lucas? He needs safety. Right now, you are part of what frightens him. David lowered his head. You are right. For once, he did not argue. He packed one suitcase and sat with me at the kitchen table before leaving. I knew Lucas was my son, he said. I knew my parents changed the adoption. I knew Anna had not willingly disappeared. I let fear make every decision for me. You blamed everyone else. I did. You let me trust you. I did. You let Lucas grow up inside a lie. His voice broke. I did. David accepted every accusation without defending himself. It did not repair anything, but it was the first honest thing he had given me. Detective Collins closed the investigation weeks later. She told me the missing records had been recovered through old backups, and the altered documents were fully proven. Richard faced charges for evidence tampering and fraud. Margaret avoided arrest, but she testified and lost the trust of nearly everyone she loved. Their home, once filled with family dinners, became painfully quiet. Sophia came to say goodbye before leaving town. I do not expect forgiveness, she said. I cannot give it. She nodded through tears. I should have chosen the truth. You should have chosen Lucas. I know. She left carrying one suitcase and more guilt than anything else. Rebuilding my life with Lucas happened slowly. We changed the locks. We packed away the birthday decorations. We started eating breakfast together without pretending everything was fine. Some mornings, he asked about Anna. Will I meet her again? He said. When you are ready. Will Dad come home? I do not know. Do you still love him? I answered honestly. Part of me does. But love cannot survive without trust. Lucas thought about that and reached for my hand. One evening, Detective Collins returned with the final answer. We identified the sender, she said. My body tensed. Who was it? Anna. I felt no surprise, only a deep sadness. Sarah explained that Anna had sent the box after learning Lucas was turning 10. She had not wanted revenge. She believed the truth would remain buried forever unless someone forced the family to face it. Later, Anna confirmed it herself. I did not want to take Lucas from you, she told me. I wanted to free him from a lifetime of lies. You could have contacted me directly. I was afraid you would protect David. I might have. That is why I chose the box. I looked at Lucas playing quietly in the next room. The gift had shattered everything familiar, but it had also ended the silence that had controlled all our lives. That night, I placed the photograph, the note, and the repaired wooden box on my bed. The birthday gift did not destroy the Carter family because it contained a secret. It destroyed us because it revealed a truth we had all chosen to hide. I closed the wooden box for the last time, knowing that while some families are broken by lies, others can only begin to heal once the truth is finally opened.